So are we getting this?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, we're just talking. I love this. So you thought I was going to say, well, everybody, let me introduce you to Brian Collins, but no, we're not doing it that way. You live at the intersection of brand and design and innovation and experience and all of those things. So who else is doing great stuff?
I'm really fascinated by lots of categories. Yeah. I'm really fascinated by apparel. I'm really fascinated by the revitalization of J. Crew, for example. I hadn't gone in that store in years, and it was like a whole new brand. The way the store was merchandised, the quality of the design of the clothing. And on top of it, they also had these other things that I had never seen there, which they had selections of books, like on the work of George Nelson, or famous architects, or famous photographers. And they weren't new books. Someone must have gone on eBay, or they went into a used bookstore and got really amazing books. And they're all around the store. And that's something that Paul Smith has done forever, and Donna Karan's store does it. But to have it in a mass retailer like J. Crew struck me as sort of a insightful detail.
The average person thinks about design,
Right.
thinks about the word design. They might think about corporate identity,
Right.
or graphic design,
Right.
or architecture, but that's not what you think of.
When people think of design, they often think that it's about cosmetics and objects, and I would rather think about it as a way to create experience and meaning.
I read yesterday that Tim Brown, who's the CEO of IDEO,
Yes.
said design is too important to be left to the designers.
I think what he's saying is that everybody needs input, or needs to give their input on what the future is going to be. And so it's not everyone is necessarily a great industrial designer, or not everyone is basically a great graphic designer or an architectural designer, but everyone has to be responsible for creating the future. Whether it's the design of their environments, the design of their communities, the design of the buildings that they work in, the design of healthcare systems, we really need to, we can learn a lot by listening to people who actually have nothing to do with design.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
My interest comes from looking outside the window. We're in New York City. I get to go to Union Square Park, and I get to see street performers. I get to go to Broadway, and I get to see the best theater in the world, or Lincoln Center. The New York Public Library is on 42nd Street. I mean, it's remarkable here. I also like to travel a lot, and I get to travel. I remember walking through a part of Florence that I had never seen before, in an alleyway behind an alleyway behind an alleyway. And I found this old toy shop that this guy had had for 40 years, and he makes masks and puppets. And I had him make me Pinocchio, and it's
Have it?
there.
Oh, there it is. Why'd you pick Pinocchio?
Oh, Pinocchio's, I love the story of Pinocchio. Pinocchio is ultimately the story about personal transformation, about finding the thing that makes you real.
Is there one thing that clients that hire you have in common? I mean, what's the typical need that they have?
I think you have to, obviously you have to connect a promise of a brand with how it performs. Increasingly, the performance of the brand is more and more important. What people do is far more important than what they're simply told. Because what people do, people Twitter about instantly. So your commercials and all your marketing communications are really important because they help set the stage. But if the delivery of that promise isn't as good or better than what you promise in your marketing, then you're sunk.
If you were 25 years younger, would you do this all over again?
If you asked me that a year ago, I'd say absolutely. I guess the question is, how do you move from success to significance without sounding self-important? So I'd say a fourth of our projects that we do are related to finding ways to make the world a better place.
CommuniSpace has over 100 people that are in their 20s.
Oh yeah.
So
It's changed it.
what do you think of all these young kids?
I think it's fantastic. One of the reasons why I've hired as many young people as I had is to be connected to what happens next. I've seen too many companies being so connected to the past and be so paralyzed by it that it's a weight. And when I think the past and looking at the history should be an engine.
I've been speaking with Brian Collins. His list of awards and honorary doctorates and Clios and best designer list are endless, and it's great to be talking to you
Thanks.
today. So just tell me a little bit beyond experienced design firm. Just kind of give me the elevator speech for what Collins is doing these days.
I don't have one, and I don't want one.
Ta-da!
Thanks, Brian.
That was great.
You're